Total War Warhammer 3 is home to a diverse amount of tall, arrogant, surface-dwelling races, all of which at one point or another have wronged the dwarven people. But don't worry, because we haven't forgotten. We never forget anything. Every short king's joke, every reference of digging too deeply and too greedily, every snide remark about our reasonable consumption of alcohol has been recorded in a book. And it is not a diary either, okay? It's a tome, and you better believe this is going in there. You are fucked, buddy. Good morning, everyone. The end times are upon us, and you better believe that the Dowie people won't go gently into that good night without first settling a few scores. Today, I'll be telling you about one of my favorite factions in the game, the Dwarfs. A race of short hairy Karens that think a reasonable response to being called a stunty alcoholic has-been is to shoot the offending party in the face. And I actually tend to agree. Some say that the golden age of Dowie kind has long gone and that the longbeards of today are nothing more than the beardlings of the past. Now, you might hear that and think to yourselves, oh, we're fucked. But don't worry, because I'm here to tell you that that is a big fat lie. Do you happen to know why we aren't as famous as the legendary ancestors of old? Because we haven't had 5,000 plus years of people shoveling shit to make that legend grow. And if you don't believe me, I'm now going to show you. Starting with the lords at your disposal. You have 6 to choose from, and I will now describe them using boy band personality types, because I apparently have nothing better to do with my time. Thorgrim Grudge Bearer, or Thuggrim to his friends, is the current High King of Dwarf kind. You can easily tell this is the case because he's being carried around on a fucking palanquin and he can at least pretend to read and write. He is the quintessential older brother. If you choose to play as him, you will enjoy the respect and admiration of your fellow dwarves, and those who fail to pay proper respect to the Lord of Karasa Karak will be taught how to properly kneel before their betters by having their kneecaps shattered. Which is why I chose to play him while making this video. Malachi Mikerson is the newest addition to the band, and as such he's been classified as the young one. This can be seen by the relative shortness of his beard and his adventurous nature. However, don't let his inexperience fool you, because the last thing you will see after you do will be his personal airship, the Spirit of Grugni, as it blots out the sun and sends everyone you have ever known to meet God. Ungrim Iron Fist is the quintessential bad boy. His massive mohawk and healthy disregard for the establishment has earned him a massive following of loyal fans, all of which can be recognized by their choice of hairstyle and fanatical dedication to the Slayer King, Q-metal riffs and lightning bolts. Thoric Ironbrow is the shy one. You can count on him to do his part, but when it comes time to sign autographs and to do some booger sugar backstage, you will find that he has fucked back off into the desert with his magical rocks and history books. They're actually pretty good rocks though. No shade, they're pretty fucking good rocks. And last but not least, we have the Heartthrob, someone who is best known for their good looks and popularity with all of the sexes. Grombrindle, the White Dwarf, doesn't just bring a raw, animalistic sex appeal to any performance he attends, he also has a direct line to the Agent, aka the Ancestor Gods, which means that he has a solution to any problem. Now, you might be asking yourself, but Toby, that is only 5 legendary lords. What about Belagor Ironhammer, the rightful ruler of Karak 8 Peaks? And to that I say that he isn't on the list because a boy band consisting of 6 members isn't just doomed to fail, he also plays with fucking ghosts. Gameplay. War is an integral part of this setting and of this game, but where most factions fight over territory and the resources that territory provides, for dwarves it's a matter of honor. Which is why the most important mechanic when playing as the dwarves are the grudges. These grudges can range from the loss of entire holds to raging greenskin was to that one particular particular goblin with brittle teeth who, after being punched numerous times in the face, caused a long beard to lose an eye due to dental shrapnel. In this game we care more about the former, but that does not diminish our outrage over the latter, because for every grudge left unanswered, an ancestor loses his beard. Grudges take two main forms, the one that goes in the fucking book, and the more general grudges that, while egregious, is considered common knowledge and therefore shoot on sight. Grudges that go in the fucking book are longer term. These are grudges that can't simply be completed with a swing of an axe or even in a single battle. Things like the wholesale destruction of the entire elven race. You know, normal, reasonable, everyday opinion that all dwarves can get behind. Since they are such a cornerstone to dwarven culture, we have the Age of Reckoning mechanic. It is basically a 15-turn long reoccurring event during which you have to cross out as many grudges as possible, which can be roughly translated to Race War Now, Exterminate the Beardless. Or at least that's how I choose to interpret it. The better you do, the more bonuses you will get access to during the next cycle, and as an added bonus, there is a small but friendly competition going on between all of the legendary lords to see who can cross out the most grudges. Winner takes all. Just make very sure that your economy is robust enough before you do. Being a cornerstone of dwarven civilization, it is the obligation of every dwarf worth his beard to cross out a grudge if given the opportunity to do so. But as in every nation, some take their obligations a little bit more seriously than others, which is where the grudge settlers comes in. These are dwarves that are gathered into ragtag units for one simple reason: turning grudges into graves. They are basically a souped up version of the regular units with a hefty cost attached, and they are pretty fucking good. Having used them to stomp out an unspecified amount of the freakishly tall people, you will inevitably have acquired not only land and their attached resources, but also oath gold, which is gold that has sworn an oath. Listen, I don't know what it is, but it can be used in the forge in order to make magical items. Sure, having an old tankard to drink your Bugman's brew with is all well and good, but do you know what's better? A fucking gun. And guns cost money, which is why we strike the earth. Rock and stone. The Deeps is a special dwarven building which basically gives you a whole other city to manage. A city dedicated to making fat stacks of cash and where the Bugmans flow like water. But that's not all, you also have the Underway Network. This is basically the superhighway of the dwarves. You can use it to travel to any other major hole with an access ramp. It's really fucking good once you get it up and running. Moving on from the management side of the game to more serious matters. We have to talk about strategy, because we're about to put the war into Warhammer. Dwarven strategy with me at the helm is about as diverse as they are tall. My battles tend to go one of two ways. The first way is that the enemy walks slowly towards me while I bombard them with high explosive ordnance. Option 2 is that we walk even slower towards them and then we bombard them with high explosive ordnance. I like to think of my dwarves like a castle, all of which need a strong foundation lest it sink into the swamp. The dwarven infantry is the walls, the painfully slow, hairy and extremely angry walls, and the plethora of lead-spewing machines of death and destruction are the plethora of lead-spewing machines of death and destruction. Not to throw any shade on the foot sloggers, because I don't want to wake up with an axe lodged in my head, but I definitely know where my priorities lie when it comes to unit recruitment. When choosing the infantry, you have a few options. Dwarf warriors, longbeards and ironbreakers are your foundations, with each one building upon the previous in terms of tankiness and beard thickness. Now, they might not dish out as much damage as some, but they definitely will take more than anyone. They also come with great weapons, which trade some of your tankiness for a little bit more damage, which, if you ask me, is a huge mistake. They are there to get punched in the face, so why the fuck would you want to make them worse at their job? Like, come the fuck on. The Slayers are your deal with anything larger than 2 dwarfs in a trenchcoat unit. These mohawk-wielding maniacs Maniacs has sworn an oath to die fighting the biggest, meanest thing on the enemy team. What the Slayers lack in armor and conventional footwear, they make up for their cracked speed, for a dwarf, and funness to use. Like, come on, it's a group of Mohawk having dual axe wielding death wishing maniacs, what's not to like? Pickaxes has the axe in the name, so I'm going to count them as having axes. These guys aren't very good, but they have charm, and some of them even bring their own grenades to the party, so they're alright in my book. Just don't expect them to win any battles, because they won't. The Hammerers are the only infantry unit not using axes. As their name suggests, they instead use hammers to shatter their enemies' kneecaps. These absolute monsters have traded the tankiness of their axe-wielding brethren for the ability to play whack-a-mole with any unit they come across. They are pretty fun to use, but I wouldn't take more than 2 or 3 in any one army, because I'm pretty sure that a dwarven front line not made up by at least 93.3% axes goes straight in the fucking book, unless we're talking about Grudge rakers. Range units are your primary damage dealers, and they come in many forms, the most versatile of which happens to be the most basic one: the Quarrelers. Now, these crossbow-wielding dwarves might not have the raw goblinoid killing power of their more advanced brethren, but these veterans are still in use for a reason. Having to defend a wall? No problem, just shoot over it. Natural terrain? Shoot over it. 100 friendly dwarves who are the only thing standing between you and a painful death at the hand of some slathering demon thing? No problem. Just shoot over them. These guys can turn a certain defeat into a victory given enough time to do their work, and I love them for it. The Thunderers have traded in the versatility of the crossbow for the raw alchemical power of gunpowder, and they will use said power to send you straight to the Shadow Realm, using bullets the size of the taurine-infused fizzy drink can of your choice. What the two of them have in common, however, is the fact that they need a little time to work their magic, which isn't the case with the Fire Drakes and the Grudge Rakers. These guys have way shorter range, but their damage potential, unlike their stature, is through the goddamn roof. Be very careful when using them, however, because flamethrowers and blunderbusses doesn't differentiate, they only incinerate and penetrate. And the same goes for Trollhammer torpedoes, which are basically just dwarves armed with RPGs, which brings us to the artillery. Most of these doesn't need an introduction. Catapults, cannon, organ guns and bolt throwers are all amazing, and you should put as many of them in your armies as dwarvenly possible. Now the real stars are the goblin hewers and flame cannons. None of them have the range of conventional artillery, they both cost more than conventional artillery, and their ability to turn your dwarves into statistics is greater than conventional artillery. But they also happen to be some of the most fun units you can have in this game. They might be a big investment in terms of time and money, but a dwarven army without at least one artillery piece belongs in the fucking book. From artillery to artillery. Okay, that doesn't really work, but a segue is a segue, and here we are. Gyrocopters are basically Apache attack helicopters, if Apache attack helicopters carried bombs and couldn't take a hit to save their goddamn lives. But I won't let that stand in my way, because how else am I supposed to drop 20 500-pound bombs on my enemies in under 3 seconds? God, I love the smell of crossed out grudges in the morning. Airships are the polar opposite. They don't have the speed of the gyrocopter, but they can do this instead. With all of these units under your command, you have the tool to deal with any problem. Are the enemies small and nimble? Shoot them in the face. Are they large and tanky? Shoot them in the face. Do they fly? Shoot them in the face. And if you can't solve the problem by shooting it in the face, you simply haven't shot it in the face enough. In summary, the dwarves are incredibly tanky, they can kill you at long, medium and short range, and they definitely can't take a fucking joke. They are very easy to use and require very little micro after the initial setup, and they have by far the most amount of just straight up fun units to use. 10 out of 10 would wipe out grudges with superior firepower again. And that is all I got, so thank you all so much for watching. I hope you had a good Christmas and New Year, and I will see you in the next one, where we do something I don't really know yet. Peace!